Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Initial financial estimates of the ninth five-year plan and budget status in the first quarter of the year top discussions of Financial Affairs and Energy Resources Council. An agreement is signed for the construction of a new police hospital, which consists of a number of clinics covering numerous medical specialties. "27,000 tourists visit the Sultanate by touristic ships and an increase by 12% of incoming tourism to the Sultanate by the end of February. And the Ministry of Education and the Research Council implement a program to spread the culture of invention and entrepreneurship in the governorates of the Sultanate. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has received a cable of greetings from His Excellency President Dr. Heinz Fischer of Austria on His Majesty's blessed return to the country, safe and healthy. His Majesty the Sultan also received a cable of greetings from His Excellency President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey on His Majesty's blessed return to the country, safe and healthy. The Financial Affairs and Energy Resources Council today held its second meeting under the chair of His Excellency Darwish bin Ismail al-Bulushi, Minister responsible for Financial Affairs, Deputy Chairman of Financial Affairs and Energy Resources Council. The meeting reviewed initial estimates for the financial frame of the ninth five-year plan 2016-2020, alternatives for estimates of revenues and expenditure, as well as other financial and economic indicators which be approved by the next five-year plan. The meeting touched on topics related to the actual implementation of the first quarter of the State General Budget for the fiscal year 2015. In a step towards developing medical services provided to the affiliates of Royal Oman Police Service and their families, an agreement was signed for the construction of the new police hospital. It was signed by His Excellency Lieutenant General Hassan bin Muhsin Shreiqi, Inspector General of Police and Customs, with the implementing companies. It was designed with global specifications and modern equipment and will provide treatment services of all specification, medical diagnosis and support services. It also contains a building for the Forensic Evidence Department and accommodation units for rehabilitating patients. Oman Air and Cargolux companies signed an agreement that enabled both companies to access new cargo destination and develop the logistic services in the Sultanate. The agreement expanded the shipping operations and enhances the initiatives launched during the last years by Oman Air in this vital sector. Dar Creek, CEO of Cargolux, said that the agreement aims at enhancing cooperation with Oman Air to develop the shipping services provided in the Sultanate and help the Sultanate become a regional logistic hub. Cargolux is one of the major European and one of the best 10 cargo airlines in the world.
So I think it's a very good opportunity that Oman Air and Cargolux are working together because first of all, Cargolux has a long experience with a high-quality air cargo service, and Cargolux is coming from a hub in Luxembourg that is very similar to Oman and to Muscat, and so the experience that you have, Oman Air can take profit, and then this two together, I think that will be a win-win situation for both, and that is very important for me. And so that's why the government is very pleased that this strategic alliance has come together. I'm sure that it will enhance the trade balance between the two countries and inside the countries, because for Cargolux it's important now they can go, for example, from Muscat to India and to serve the Indian market. And on the other hand, it's important because Actually, at this moment, Oman Air only has don't has belly freighters, but has only all passenger flights, and Cargolux is an all cargo flighter. So these two together can do that. We can boost really also the side of Muscat and the airport of Muscat.
The Sultanate's wing at Milan Expo in Italy received praise for its early preparation. That was announced to the Sultanate of Oman Radio and Television by His Excellency Mohsen bin Khamis al-Balushi, advisor of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and Commissioner General of the Sultanate wing at the exhibition. He confirmed that more than 95% of the wing is ready and mentioned that the Sultanate is prepared to participate at this international event, which will start at the beginning of May. The Sultanate will be handed the wing officially on the 22nd of this month, as it was agreed. Incoming tourism to the Sultanate has registered an increase by 12% by the end of last February, compared with the same period of last year. It came at a time where touristic ships anchoring at the Sultanate's ports also registered an increase, with strengthened maritime tourism and add to the sector more visitors. The incoming visitors reached 390,000, hailing from many countries, where Gulf tourists occupied the first place of 54,000, followed by Indians more than 18,000, followed by Germans around 18,000, and the British around 15,000. At the same time, hotel occupancy decreased by 3.5%. The Europeans registered the highest of hotel occupancy. On the other hand, the outgoing tourism witnessed an increase by 13.6%, numbering 834,000 visitors. Omanis constituted around 65%. Tourism ships, which anchored at the Sultanate's port in last February, brought to the Sultanate more than 20,000 visitors, topped by the Europeans constituting 86%. Increase of inbound tourism is a positive indicator requiring more investment in main and entertaining tourism services, which will contribute in enhancing the tourism sector in the Sultanate. More than 1.03 billion Omani riyals was the value of real estate trading in the Sultanate during January and February this year, with an increase by 138% compared to 2014. Within regard to ownership deeds issued by the end of February, data issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information stated 38,637 ownership deeds, with a decrease by 2.5% compared to the same period last year, which recorded the issuance of 39,588 deeds. The number of ownership deeds issued at the end of February for Gulf Cooperation Council countries decreased by 20.7%, as to reach 562 ownership deeds, compared to 709 at the same period in 2014. His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Mahfouz al-Mandhari, Chairman of the State Council, today received Michael Sunderland, Head of the Legislative Council in the state of Western Australia, and his accompanying delegation. The meeting discussed means of promoting the bilateral relations and activating cooperation and permanent coordination between the two councils. The guest hailed the progress being witnessed by the Sultanate under the wise leadership of His Majesty the Sultan, wishing His Majesty a good health and well-being, and the Sultanate permanent progress and prosperity. Still to come in our news bulletin. Honor the educational supervisors, teachers, and students from various schools in the Wilaya of Thumrait. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Royal Navy of Oman this morning celebrated the graduation of a new batch of recruits under the auspices of His Excellency Mohammed bin Nasser al-Rasbi, Secretary General of the Ministry of Defense. It was held on the military parade ground at Saeed bin Sultan Naval Base and started with a military salute for the chief guest, who after that inspected the first of the graduates, whom then performed military parade by ordinary and slow march, accompanied by music of the Royal Navy of Oman. That was followed by performances of silent march and weapon movements. The graduates recited the chant of Royal Navy of Oman, performed loyalty oath, and 3 times cheered life of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. At the end, the commander of the column requested the chief guest to conclude the graduation ceremony. The celebrations of the Sultanate on the occasion of His Majesty's safe return to the homeland continue. Male and female students of the Sultan Qaboos 2 schools affiliated to the Royal Court Affairs in Salalah organized a loyalty and gratitude procession, rejoicing this occasion. Faculty and administration staff, along with students' parents, as well as Craft Training Center in Salalah, also participated in the ceremony. Students went out hoisting flags of the Sultanate and carrying portraits of His Majesty. They also expressed their sincere feelings through poems. All the participants at the end of the ceremony recited the national anthem of the Sultanate. Students also renewed the allegiance and gratitude to the builder of the Renaissance. The National Field Research Center for Environmental Conservation is working in cooperation with Earthwatch program, the Research Council, and the Ministry of Education to study the biodiversity in Jebel Samhan Reserve in the Governorate of Dhofar. The research team was equipped with surveillance cameras and modern technologies to monitor environmental changes that occurred in the reserve, which is considered as the biggest natural reserve in the Sultanate. An awareness program on innovation and entrepreneurship supervised by the Ministry of Education and the Research Council targets all governorates of the Sultanate. The project aims to include entrepreneurship culture in the school curriculum and educational programs through using modern means to instill this culture on students. In its first station in the governorates of Buraimi, various activities were organized that targeted teachers, school administrators, educational supervisors, parents, and students. These activities aim to raise awareness among parents on the significance of providing children with a good environment of creativity and skills development. A ceremony was held in the Wilaya of Thamray to honor educational supervisors, teachers, and students from various schools in the Wilaya in recognition of their efforts during the last school year. The event included poems and sand drawings. The ceremony came to encourage others for more creativity and giving. It was held under the auspices of His Excellency Sheikh Al-Mundhir bin Ahmed Al-Marhoon, Wali of Thamray, with the presence of the Director General of Education in the Governorate of Dhofar. Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of clouds on the Hajar Mountains and fog early morning in the southeastern coast, the governorates of South Sharqiya and Wasta, and northern parts of the governorate of Dhofar. Winds along the southeastern coast will be southwesterly light to moderate, while along the rest of the Sultanate it will be southeasterly to easterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Initial financial estimates of the 9th five-year plan and budget status in the first quarter of the year top discussions of Financial Affairs and Energy Resources Council. An agreement is signed for the construction of a new police hospital, which consists of a number of clinics covering numerous medical specialties. "27,000 tourists visit the Sultanate by touristic ships, and an increase of by 12% of incoming tourism to the Sultanate by the end of February. And the Ministry of Education and the Research Council implement a program to spread the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the governorates of the Sultanate. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.